My name is Madeline Cross. I'm 31. Last week, I sat at the end of a long table at a rooftop gala in Manhattan. My name wasn't on the seating chart. There was no place card. Just a folded paper napkin, torn, cheap, placed beside a crystal wine glass that wasn't for me. My sister, Vanessa, toasted to new leadership. My father called her the future. No one looked my way. No one had to. They thought I was in between jobs. Drifting. Uncertain. Someone who used to be smart. I let them think that. But when the check arrived, and Vanessa reached for it, I stopped her. It's handled, I said. House account. And that was the moment they paused. Just for a breath. The first time in years they looked at me and wondered who I'd become. They had no idea. I used to think if I stayed quiet long enough, they'd finally listen. Turns out, silence only teaches people how to speak over you. Growing up, I was the youngest. Not the baby. Just, the extra. Vanessa was the center of every room. I was the one adjusting the chairs after she left. My parents used to say I was easy. Translation, forgettable. I never threw tantrums. Never interrupted. I got good grades, handled my own schedule, paid for college with grants and tutoring jobs. They never asked how. At 16, I built a prototype inventory system on a school laptop. When I showed my dad, he patted my head and said, "That's cute, Maddie. But HR's probably a better fit for someone like you." Someone like me. Vanessa, meanwhile, talked circles around everyone. She wore ambition like a designer coat. Interned at high-end firms. Made PowerPoints that dazzled, even when they said nothing. My father called her a born leader. My mother said she could run the world if she wanted. No one asked if I wanted anything. I remember one Sunday dinner, I was 23. I mentioned I'd leased a warehouse. Small, old, drafty. But mine. I told them I had a plan, software for freight tracking. Vanessa laughed. Sounds like a side quest in a sci-fi movie. Dad didn't even look up. Sweetheart, maybe it's time to find something real. Something real. As if my dream didn't count. Later that night, I cried alone on the warehouse floor. Then I got up, opened my laptop, and started writing code again. For years, I kept building in the shadows. Teaching myself. Pitching under fake company names because I knew no one would take a young woman seriously. Least of all my own family. Eventually, the contracts came. I started hiring. Quietly. Efficiently. But at every family gathering, Vanessa would interrupt me mid-sentence. Correct my stories. Claim credit for things she'd heard me mention in passing. And my parents? They'd smile. Offer her more wine. Call her the one with vision. Meanwhile, I picked up the check. Booked the reservations. Made sure the bills were covered when Dad forgot his wallet again. And still, I was just Maddie. Always around. Never seen. They had no idea the company Vanessa bragged about in every dinner toast. The contracts she called her own were built on code I wrote, in a warehouse they never bothered to visit. The rooftop was glowing that night. Gold lighting, string bulbs, a skyline backdrop curated for Instagram. Vanessa made the guest list. I wasn't really on it. She said it was a casual industry gathering. The kind where deals are hinted at over sparkling wine. But when I arrived, there was a step and repeat banner with her name and the company's logo side by side. Printed big. Glossy. Framed like a coronation. I stepped out of the elevator and walked toward the host table. The girl checked my name twice before waving a server over. He led me to the far end of the terrace, past the reserved booths, past the photo wall, until we reached a table tucked behind a row of space heaters. There was no card with my name. Just a napkin. Not linen. Not folded. A square of rough, white paper. Everyone else had their names embroidered in gold. Even my father. Richard, bold and gleaming. Mine was silent. Anonymous. Forgettable. Vanessa saw me and offered a quick wave like I was someone's plus one. I nodded. Sat down. Didn't ask questions. Didn't cause a scene. A waiter came by. I asked for water with lemon. My father chuckled. Still not drinking? Good for you. You always did play it safe. The other smiled. Not warmly. Just, knowingly. Then the speeches began. Vanessa stood beside a man I didn't recognize, probably an investor. She clinked her glass. Cleared her throat. We've just finalized a logistics optimization deal worth $42 million, she said, holding up her champagne. It was a challenge, but I think vision always wins. Applause followed. Loud. Enthusiastic. My father patted her back. Some of us were born to lead. Then, he turned to me. And some of us, well, we try. He paused before the word try. Like he considered saying something softer. And chose not to. I smiled. Small. Almost invisible. Folded my napkin, well, paper, and set it aside. Vanessa leaned toward me. At least you've got time to find yourself now. Not everyone's built for pressure. She said it like a compliment. Like I was someone recovering from failure, not someone they'd been erasing in real time. My mother quickly changed the subject, asked my brother about his backyard remodel. I sipped my water. Stayed quiet. The check came. Vanessa reached for it, still glowing. I've got this, she smiled. Dad, let me treat you tonight. I raised a hand. No need. Everyone turned. I already covered it. House account. Silence. The kind that pulls heat from the air. Vanessa blinked. House account? I nodded once. The house you're sitting in. My father's smile cracked. Vanessa stared. I stood up slowly. Left the napkin behind. No goodbyes. No explanation. They watched me walk away. For the first time in years. They didn't know who I was. I didn't wait for their reactions. Didn't glance back. I left them at that table, with their monogrammed napkins, their curated applause, and their rehearsed hierarchy. The elevator down was slow. I was grateful for that. It gave me space to breathe before the silence outside folded over me like a coat. I walked 2 blocks to the parking garage. Unlocked my car. Sat there for a moment with my hands on the wheel, listening to nothing but the whir of my own breath. Then I drove. No music. No calls. Just city lights slicing past my window. At home, I didn't take my heels off right away. I poured a glass of water, set it down untouched. The condo was quiet. But not heavy. Just still. I stared at the blank space on the wall where a photo used to hang. A family portrait. I'd taken it down months ago. Told myself it didn't matter. Tonight, I knew why it had stayed empty. I opened my laptop. Logged into my holding company's dashboard. Everything was running. The warehouse I leased at 23 now housed 3 startups. Vanessa's division relied on software my teams maintained. The board reports bore her name. The infrastructure bore mine. I clicked through a few spreadsheets. Checked activity logs. No errors. No questions. Just smooth, quiet progress. Then I opened a different tab, employee feedback submissions. Anonymous entries from the logistics firm. Some were brief. Others felt like confessions. She told me I should dress more approachable. I wore slacks. He said my tone didn't sound leadership ready. She once asked if I was planning to retire soon. I'm 42. I saved each one. Created a folder. Labeled it, Phase 1. No need to rush. Next, I opened the personnel hierarchy. Vanessa, VP of Strategic Partnerships. My father, Interim President. I highlighted their profiles. Clicked Access Privileges, Temporary Override. A single checkbox. No alert. No noise. Just, done. I didn't do it out of anger. I wasn't looking for revenge. Only alignment. Truth catching up with title. I turned off the screen and let the dark reflect back at me. This wasn't a declaration. This was removal. Not from them. But from the version of me who still needed their approval. The next morning, I skipped brunch. No text to explain. No lie to cover it. Just absence. They noticed. I didn't respond. They speculated. I stayed silent. That week, I declined 3 meetings I was expected to attend. Sent my assistant in my place. Vanessa called her. Asked if I was sick. She said I was unavailable. It was true. I'd always been present. Always available. Now I was still. And stillness, I realized, is louder than people think. I'd always known they underestimated me. But I didn't realize how comfortable they were doing it out loud. By Wednesday, the rumor started. Vanessa told a junior manager I was in one of her moods again. My father asked someone in finance if I'd been burned out lately. I said nothing. But I was listening. And saving everything. Thursday morning, I sat at my desk before sunrise. Steam curled from a cup of black coffee. The dashboard on my screen blinked open, clean, orderly, exact. I clicked a tab marked, Ownership Records. There it was. My name. Full and unobscured. Majority stakeholder in the holding company that controlled every brand, every product line, every facility, including the one Vanessa liked to call her division. They didn't know. Because I never let them. Because sometimes, being underestimated is the most powerful camouflage. Years ago, I started buying in, small percentages here and there. Through subsidiaries, trusts, nominee arrangements. Every time someone said I was just drifting, I was signing another contract. When Vanessa bragged about closing a new partnership, I was finalizing the lease for the office she walked into every morning. She never saw the name on the lease. I buried it 2 layers deep. That night at the gala? She stood in a venue my company owned. Celebrating a deal that ran on software my team built. While using talking points she pulled from a strategy memo I'd written and never sent. They hadn't stolen my work. They'd stolen a mask of it. But they'd worn it so long, they thought it was theirs. I clicked over to the next tab, Internal Culture Audit. Reynolds Human Capital. A consulting firm no one paid much attention to, just another line item in corporate compliance. Except I owned that firm too. Acquired quietly 5 years ago. I drafted a new request. Subject, Ethics Review, Phase 1. Anonymous Complaint Collection. Full staff interviews. Focus, Executive Behavior Patterns. I didn't attach a name. Didn't need to. By noon, the digital inbox was open. Reports trickled in. Condescending remarks, promotion blockages, offhand comments that sliced. She laughed when I asked about leadership training. He said I lacked executive polish. She called me grandma in front of 2 interns. These weren't isolated incidents. They were a pattern. A quiet culture that mirrored everything I had once tried to escape. I compiled it all. Labeled it, Preliminary Findings. No flair. No accusation. Just data. Then I sent one final message to my legal team. No header. No commentary. Just 3 documents. My ownership records. The full culture audit. A revised executive structure chart. I scheduled a meeting for Monday morning. Room 9B. Closed session. Mandatory. I didn't invite Vanessa. Didn't copy my father. Didn't need to. When the doors opened, they would learn who owned the building. And more importantly, who no longer belonged in it. Monday arrived like any other. Cloudy. Uneventful. Still. At 9 a.m., room 9B was set, 12 chairs, 1 long walnut table, a carafe of water no one would touch. By 9:05, the board had arrived. By 9:08, I walked in. Vanessa was already seated, scrolling through her phone, lips pursed. My father stood near the whiteboard, sipping coffee like he owned the room. He always did, until now. Neither of them saw the red tabbed folders at the center of the table. Not yet. I nodded at legal. The meeting began. Today's session covers executive oversight and ethics compliance, the general counsel started. We'll begin with ownership clarification. Silence. Then 12 sets of eyes turned toward me. I slid a slim black folder forward. Inside, state filings, signed transfers, shell company trails, and finally, my name. Majority owner. No dispute. Vanessa stiffened. My father narrowed his eyes. This is some kind of trick, he said. I didn't flinch. It's a correction, I answered. Of something you forgot to include, me. He reached for the documents, flipping faster now. Each page confirmed what I already knew. What they never wanted to believe. Then came the audit. The culture report. Line after line from employees they had dismissed, demeaned, and discredited. She told me I wasn't leadership material, because I smiled too much. He said promotions were reserved for serious people, not part-timers with kids. She mocked my accent during a conference call. The words filled the room. Not loud. Just, undeniable. Vanessa folded her arms, scoffed. This is ridiculous. You're just bitter Dad didn't pick you. I leaned forward. No, I said quietly. I'm not bitter. I'm done pretending this is his to give. I turned to the chairman. Under Clause 14 of the Ethics Charter, I'm recommending removal of both executives, effective immediately. He didn't look surprised. Neither did half the room. The vote was swift. Unanimous. The only two who didn't raise hands were the ones who no longer had a vote. Vanessa's face went pale. My father didn't speak. For once, he had no script to fall back on. I gathered my things. No victory speech. No final word. As I reached the door, I paused. Then looked over my shoulder. You wrote me out of the story, I said. So I rewrote the ending. I didn't rush out of the boardroom. I just walked, calm, steady, through the hallway I used to avoid. No one stopped me. No one congratulated me. That was the best part. It wasn't a spectacle. It was closure. Back in my office, I didn't sit. I opened the blinds instead. The city blinked below, taxis, crosswalks, morning noise. But inside, it was still. On the shelf beside my desk, a cardboard box waited. It had arrived over the weekend. No return address, just my name written in familiar cursive. Inside. A photo, our family in the backyard, years ago. A silver charm bracelet I hadn't seen since high school. And a note. The paper was thin, smudged. But I knew the handwriting. My mother's. It said, "Don't let them shrink you to fit their world. You were born to build your own." I held the words like they might disappear. Then I framed the note and set it next to a new photo. That photo, our startup team in the early days, was always cropped. Always missing me. But this version wasn't. In this one, I stood front and center. Hands in my pockets. Tired. But standing. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. The next day, I arrived early. Coffee in hand. Heels echoing on the marble. No double takes. No whispered questions. Now they knew. I wasn't the assistant. Wasn't the intern. Wasn't Vanessa's sister. I was Maddie Cross. CEO. Founder. Owner. But I didn't need the plaque. Didn't need the applause. That morning, I paused in the lobby. A new quote had been etched behind the reception desk. It read, "Some of us don't raise our voices. We build rooms where everyone else finally can." No author listed. No need. I walked past it without breaking stride. Didn't smile. Didn't look back. Freedom doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes, it just needs to be real. Have you ever been told you were too quiet to matter? Too soft to lead? Maybe they laughed when you spoke, or looked past you like you weren't even there. If so, then maybe you understand. This isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming the space they said wasn't yours. So tell me. Have you ever walked away without slamming the door? And knew, deep down, that was louder than anything you could have said? Share your story below. Someone might need to hear it. And if this felt like your story, you're not alone. Not anymore.